21 Ghost Squid. It wasn't long before Shen Qinghan hurried down from upstairs, afraid to keep Lin Zikin waiting too long downstairs. Why did you come out in your pajamas? I came down in such a hurry that I forgot to change. Then go back and change. I'm too lazy to go back. Let's hurry to the mall to shop. My dad just gave me 200 yuan, now I'm a little rich lady. Whatever you want to buy later, it's on me. Shen Qinghan skillfully sat on the rear seat of Lin Zikin's bicycle, waving 2 crisp 100 yuan notes in front of him, her delicate face radiating triumph. Lin Zikin felt the 1,000 yuan in his pocket but didn't want to burst her bubble, so he smiled and said, "Okay, tonight Shen Miss will pick up the tab. Stop talking, let's get going. Otherwise, we won't have much time to shop if it gets too late, and my parents will definitely call to urge me to come home early. Then hold on tight." "I'm holding on tight," Shen Qinghan said with a smile, wrapping her arms around Lin Zikin's waist. Lin Zikin didn't waste words, he just pedaled hard, and in the next moment, the bike's speed soared. Huamao New World, first floor main entrance. Lin Zikin found a spot to park his bicycle, and quickly he and Shen Qinghan made their way to the top floor of the mall. If it were daytime, he would first take Shen Qinghan for a stroll in the regular commercial district below to eat, drink, and have fun. But it was too late now, and he needed to rush to the exotic beast commercial district at the very top to touch exotic beast meat and verify his speculation. "Xiao Chen, what do you want to buy? Why did you run up here?" In the exotic beast commercial district at the top, Shen Qinghan was somewhat bewildered by the dazzling array of exotic beast products in front of her. A glance over the goods revealed that the prices of the merchandise were exorbitant, with each item pricier than the last. Her 200 yuan was simply not substantial enough to make any purchases. Lin Zikin honestly said, "Actually, I didn't really want to buy anything. I just wanted to come here to take a closer look at exotic beast meat." Shen Qinghan nodded, showing she understood. Lin Zikin had always been fascinated by exotic beasts since he was a child, so it was normal for him to want to see what exotic beast meat looked like up close. "Then let's hurry and look around. I'm quite curious about exotic beasts, too." Shen Qinghan, who had often read books about exotic beasts with Lin Zikin when she was younger, and who had accidentally wet several of his books, still remembered those moments vividly to this day. Soon, the two of them began to browse through the exotic beast merchandise area. Besides exotic beast meat, there were many other derivative products related to exotic beasts. There were jewelry pieces made from exotic beast scales and armor. There were figurines modeled after the appearance of exotic beasts. There were specimens of small exotic beasts and so on. Lin Zikin wasn't interested in these items. He just accompanied Shen Qinghan for a quick look around before heading straight to the section selling exotic beast meat. He looked at various pieces of exotic beast meat and found that all of it had been cut and processed in such a way that it was impossible to identify the original exotic beast. Moreover, crucially, all of it was wrapped in transparent cling film, sealed airtight, and therefore untouchable. He couldn't test the swallowing effect of his power survival of the fittest. He persisted and carefully made his way around the area. Finally, in a corner, he found some exotic beast meat that could be touched. It was freshly butchered meat with a staff member nearby, packing and portioning it. "Han Han, wait here for me a sec," he said. "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to touch the exotic beast meat over there." "Ah." Shen Qinghan was a bit confused. Lin Zikin didn't explain much to her and, taking advantage of the packaging staff's inattention, quietly moved closer from the staff's blind spot. Next, he reached out to touch the piece of fresh exotic beast meat closest to him. The moment he touched it, Lin Zikin felt the vitality contained within the exotic beast meat. It was extremely vigorous, rich, and powerful. Instinctively, Lin Zikin wanted to devour all of the life essence within the exotic beast meat, leaving nothing behind. No, that's not right, he couldn't do that. If the meat lost its vitality, it would probably spoil. If he wanted it, he would need to buy it with his own money. Lin Zikin's rationality overcame his instinct, and he quickly came to his senses, refraining from the improper act of stealing the vitality from the exotic beast meat. Although he could have carried out the act discreetly, and there was a high probability it wouldn't have been discovered if he did it just once. But once he started down that path, he couldn't imagine what kind of person he would become later on. If not unexpected, there was a high probability he would turn into a desperado who likes to get by without effort, deceive, and indulge in robbery and plunder. It's acceptable not to be a good person, but he must not become a bad person, at least he mustn't discard his character. Thinking this way, Lin Zikin quickly returned to where Shen Qinghan was standing. Seeing him return, Shen Qinghan immediately asked with curiosity, "Ziai Chen, what does the exotic beast meat feel like to touch? Is it any different from regular meat?" "It doesn't feel much different, if I have to say there's a difference, it just seems a bit fresher," Lin Zikin answered nonchalantly. At this moment, he had confirmed the guess in his heart, that indeed only exotic beast meat had sufficient life essence for him to devour. With that in mind, he would have to find a way to make money to buy exotic beast meat to devour in the future. Without giving it much more thought, Lin Zikin continued to wander around the area with Shen Qinghan. Looking here and there, they found everything to be very novel. Aside from a few low-priced derivative products, most of the goods related to exotic beasts were extremely expensive luxury items, beyond the reach of ordinary families. It was hard not to feel awed by seeing so many of them at once. He felt that they had browsed enough. His horizons had been sufficiently widened. Lin Zikin stopped in front of a counter selling exotic beast meat, pointed to a type known as phantom squid meat inside the counter, and said to the female clerk, "Hello, I'd like to buy a pound of this meat." Having browsed for so long, phantom squid meat was the cheapest exotic beast meat he had seen, and the only one he could afford. The price was 998 per pound. The second cheapest kind of exotic beast meat cost 2,000 per pound. With such a significant price difference, there was no need to consider which one to choose. "You want to buy this? Where are your parents? Are you alone?" The female clerk, looking at Lin Zikin in his Shanghai High School uniform, was full of suspicion, not understanding how a middle school student could come here to buy exotic beast meat. Lin Zikin took out 1,000 yuan from his pocket, placed it on the counter, and calmly said, "Yes, just me alone, I would like to buy a pound of phantom squid meat." "That won't work, you're too young, you can't buy it," the female clerk refused to sell to Lin Zikin. After all, the amount was too large, and selling it to a minor was very risky, as the parents would most likely come after the fact to settle the account. Lin Zikin knew the clerk's concerns, so he could only make a video call to Zhang Wangzhen, seeking her consent to buy the phantom squid meat in front of the female clerk. P.S. Bowl outstretched, asking for monthly tickets and recommendation tickets. 22 Heretical sex treachery. "Mom, I want to spend 998 yuan to buy a caddy of phantom squid meat, which is a type of exotic beast meat." "No problem, if you want to buy it, then buy it. When you bring it back, Mom will cook it for you." In the video, Zhang Wangzhen thought that Lin Zikin just wanted to eat the phantom squid meat and agreed with a smile without thinking. Although spending 1,000 yuan per caddy on meat is a bit extravagant for their ordinary family, her son had always been sensible and had never wasted a penny. Now that he rarely wanted to buy something, as a mother, she would definitely agree. After a brief chat, Lin Zikin quickly ended the video call. Immediately after, he saw that Zhang Wangzhen had transferred 2,000 yuan to him via Duct WeChat and sent a text message asking him to buy more and invite Qinghan and his family over for a meal. Lin Zikin replied with a thank you to his mom and then turned to the clerk in front of him and said, "My mom has agreed to my purchase, please give me 3 caddies of phantom squid meat." "All right, I'll pack it up for you right now," the female clerk said enthusiastically with a smile. A moment later, Lin Zikin paid 2,994 yuan and left with the 3 caddies of well-packed phantom squid meat. On the road, Shen Qinghan couldn't help but ask, "Didn't you say you were just going to look at exotic beast meat? Why did you suddenly buy it?" "Because I wanted to buy it for you to eat." "I don't believe that." "It's obviously because you wanted to eat it," Shen Qinghan said, then remarked with amazement, "This exotic beast meat costs 998 yuan per caddy, it's really expensive, and I don't know what it tastes like." Lin Zikin didn't speak anymore, worrying about whether or not to absorb the phantom squid meat. Originally, he planned to secretly buy some phantom squid meat to absorb, but because he was a minor and couldn't buy it, he needed his parents' approval. Now that his family knew he had bought phantom squid meat, they were all waiting for him to bring it back to eat. How could he absorb it now? Meat isn't like teeth, if the life source inside was absorbed, it would most likely go bad. "It seems I can only absorb a little bit now, and later I will need to find someone to help me buy exotic beast meat," he thought. Lin Zikin silently reached into the bag to touch and absorb a small portion of the phantom squid meat. It wasn't much, just a small piece, about 1 liang in weight. "You have absorbed a strand of phantom squid life source. Phantom squid compendium, 0.1%. Absorbing 1 liang of meat yielded a 0.1% progress. By this calculation, he would have to absorb 100 caddies of meat to fill the compendium's progress bar to 100%. And the price of phantom squid meat was just 998 yuan per caddy. Which means by spending about 100,000 yuan, he could open the phantom squid compendium. That amount wasn't too much to be unacceptable. Lin Zikin decided to purchase phantom squid meat for absorption in the future. About the exotic beast phantom squid, he had seen an introduction in a book when he was very young. He learned that this was a common low-level exotic beast that mainly lived in the ocean depths thousands of meters undersea, occasionally venturing into shallow waters to hunt for food. Because it had a special ability to instantly dissolve in water and disappear, it seemed like a ghost, hence it was named phantom squid. Also, because it was weak in shallow waters and there were plenty of them, making them easy to catch, they gradually became a food source for humans and were traded in various exotic beast markets. Instantly dissolving in water and disappearing? "I hope I'll gain this ability after opening the compendium," Lin Zikin thought silently. Having thought that, he took out the piece of meat from which he absorbed the life source, intending to find a trash can to throw it away. After all, without its life source, the meat would surely have gone bad and needed to be discarded. However, when he looked at the piece of meat he took out, he was surprised to find it hadn't gone bad. It just seemed less fresh to him, perhaps just a psychological effect. However, it didn't affect its edibility. Lin Zikin was a bit baffled. The life source had been absorbed, so why hadn't the meat gone bad? What exactly is a life source? Could it be genes? Or rather, are genes a kind of origin of life? After all, the term origin does seem to have a broad scope. Lin Zikin couldn't figure it out, so he decided to search for answers online. He took out his phone, opened the browser, and with some anticipation, searched for origin of life. But he found nothing. There was no such thing as the origin of life. Forget it, no need to obsess over it, he thought, it's enough to know meat won't spoil after its origin of life is consumed. Soon, Lin Zikin had devoured all the remaining phantom squid meat. Increasing the progress of the album he had opened to 3%. After he finished, he and Shen Qinghan went down to the ordinary commercial area for a stroll. Shen Qinghan saw a claw machine and was very fond of the dolls inside, not thinking twice before she started to play. Clumsy yet enthusiastic about the game, she quickly spent 20 bucks without managing to grab a single doll. Lin Zikin couldn't bear to watch anymore and decided to help her. After only 3 tries, he was spot on every time, grabbing 3 of her favorite dolls. Time flew by, and before they knew it, it was already 10 at night. Since they both had classes the next day, they didn't linger long at the mall, quickly leaving and cycling home. Xiao Chen, the night breeze feels so nice, Shen Qinghan said. Indeed it's nice, he replied. I really love the 3 dolls you helped me win, she expressed. Glad you like them, he said. Xiao Chen, I can't wait to try the phantom squid meat. I've never eaten exotic beast meat before in my life, she exclaimed eagerly. On their way home, they chatted sporadically. Most of the conversation was led by Shen Qinghan, with Lin Zikin responding. Their chat could have gone on. Until, as they passed by a park, they were suddenly interrupted by a commotion coming from inside. Put down the knife, rang a voice. Fuck your mother. I'll fuck her. You delusional people, if humanity perishes, you hardheads will be to blame, another voice yelled. I'm going to repeat myself one last time, put down the knife now, the first voice demanded. Being human won't save the people of Earth. Being human won't save you, don't you get it, the second one bellowed hysterically. The shouting that reached them sounded utterly hysterical. Lin Zikin's brow furrowed at the sound. Were people from the heretical sect causing a disturbance in the park? Curiosity immediately piqued, he sped up his cycling towards the commotion. As he passed by the source of the noise, he glanced in the direction of the voices. And in the next second, he spotted an unexpected familiar face. It was the intelligence development class teacher from Rainbow Kindergarten, Miss Strawberry. At that moment, Miss Strawberry was being held hostage by a deranged man with a knife at her throat, and blood was already seeping out. Things were looking dire. Yet, the several public security officers on the scene were still just verbally negotiating and warning without taking any physical action. Seeing Miss Strawberry's complexion grow increasingly paler and the blood on her neck oozing more profusely, Lin Zikin knew he had to do something within his power. He brought his bike to a halt, got off and picked up a rock from the ground. Then, with a steely gaze, he aimed at the hand that held the knife and hurled the rock with all his might. P.S. Asking for monthly and recommendation tickets. 23 rat people. Bing, aren't you ready yet? That heretic believer is getting more and more agitated, the hostage's neck is already bleeding. The situation is extremely critical. Captain, that guy is a professional. He's hidden his body well, I don't have a clear shot, no opportunity to snipe. Chen Yan, have you identified the heretic believer's identity? Contact his family as soon as possible, get them to the scene to persuade him. Captain, the suspect is an orphan. Hearing the reports from his 2 team members, the captain of the public security team looked worried. He was eager to rush in and save the woman being held hostage, but he saw no opportunity to act. The heretic believer was crouched in a corner, using the hostage's body as a shield, revealing only a knife against the hostage's neck, with no opening exposed. Captain, what if we try using tear gas? A team member suggested quietly. The captain of the public security team shook his head, no use, the tear gas is too obvious. It could provoke the criminal before taking effect, causing extreme reactions. Just as everyone felt helpless. Suddenly, a piercing sound of something cutting through the air erupted. Buzz! Instantly, a stone the size of an egg whizzed past at a speed invisible to the naked eye, right in front of the captain, and struck the heretic believer's hand precisely. Ah! The heretic believer let out a scream of pain. The stone had hit his knife-holding hand. Moreover, the angle it struck was extremely tricky. And the force of the impact made his knife-wielding hand twist outward, moving the knife away from the hostage's neck and quickly causing it to fall to the ground. At the same time, the hostage, Teacher Strawberry, managed to break free, and her strong will to survive made her desperately flee toward the public security officers. The public security officers reacted quickly, one moving forward to receive Teacher Strawberry, while the others rushed to control the heretic believer. From beginning to end, the officers did not understand what had happened, they only knew that all of a sudden, the heretic believer clutched his hand and screamed, and then the hostage escaped the danger on her own. Only Shen Qinghan, who had witnessed everything, was so astonished that she opened her mouth wide in shock. Xiao Chen, you! Let's go, we'll talk when we get back. Lin Zikan had no intention of staying longer. Seeing that Teacher Strawberry was rescued, he got back on his bicycle to take Shen Qinghan away. However, before he could pedal away, the captain of the public security team ran over and blocked his path, breathing heavily and said, "Student, wait a second, don't rush off just yet. Was it you who threw the stone just now?" As he spoke, the captain of the public security team held out a stone that he had in his hand in front of Lin Zikan. The heretic believer's hand was injured, and there was a blood-stained stone not far from his feet. Combining the direction from which the stone had come, the captain guessed that it was Lin Zikan who had thrown it. Although it was hard to believe, there was indeed no more reasonable explanation at the moment. "It wasn't me who threw it." Lin Zikan, not wanting to be bothered by the aftermath, nonchalantly dropped such a remark. Afterward, he veered the bike and rode away from the captain of the public security team. The captain was momentarily stunned, then realizing what had happened, he looked after his retreating figure and shouted, "Student! Student, wait a moment! Student, what you did was a good deed, why won't you admit it?" No matter how loudly the captain of the public security team shouted, Lin Zikan had no intention of stopping, and his figure quickly disappeared around the corner ahead. "This is bizarre, why would someone not want to acknowledge their good deed?" The captain of the public security team was totally puzzled by this. Nevertheless, he didn't dwell on it much longer, planning to return here tomorrow to check the surveillance footage to confirm if it was indeed Lin Zikan who had acted, and how exactly he had done it. Just then, Lin Zikan came back with Shen Qinghan and asked, "I suddenly remembered something, is there a reward for acting heroically?" There is. That's right, it was me who threw the stone, it has my fingerprints on it, you can take me back for a comparison." The captain of the public security team. This change of face was so sudden that it left the captain of the public security team at a loss for words. Lin Zikan didn't want to do this either, but in order to open the Ghost Shadow Squid album as soon as possible, he had to think of all sorts of ways to save money and bow down for a mere pittance. The captain of the public security team, "Then how about this, come to the security office later for a brief statement, and compare the fingerprints while we're at it. Once we're certain there's no issue, I'll apply for the reward for your act of bravery." "Sure, no problem." Lin Zikan agreed readily. Shen Qinghan, sitting in the back seat, immediately took out her phone and made a call home, saying she would return later. Meanwhile, the captain of the public security team went back to the park to deal with the aftermath, intending to take the subdued heretic believer back to the security office. "By the way, Xiao Chen, I don't know how Ms. Strawberry is doing now, let's go over and check on her," said Shen Qinghan as soon as she hung up. Lin Zikan, "Okay." Once they reached an agreement, the two parked their bikes to the side and walked together toward the security vehicle in the park. Ms. Strawberry had been immediately taken into the security vehicle for treatment of the wounds on her neck right after being rescued, presumably resting in the vehicle at the moment. Just as the two of them were about to reach the security vehicle, not far to the side, the handcuffed heretic believer suddenly started to make a painful ha-ha noise out of nowhere. Following that, his face began to crack, revealing shocking, bloody gashes. The gashes grew longer and wider until they formed eyes, symmetrically distributed on both sides of his face. Counting the original pair, there were exactly 8 eyes. The security officer responsible for escorting the heretic believer noticed the problem, quickly drew his gun and chambered a round, while anxiously shouting to the captain of the public security team. "Captain, there's been a mutation. The heretic believer is showing signs of transformation and is turning into a giant mutant rat." No sooner had he spoken than the heretic believer displaying the symptoms of mutation suddenly became incredibly strong, snapping the handcuffs with ease and then turning around to ferociously pounce on the security officer and bite him. Luckily, the security officer was on guard and reacted swiftly, sidestepping just in time to dodge the attack. Giant mutant rat transformation. Linziken first heard these 5 words and then saw the 8 eyes on the heretic believer's face, and without thinking, he immediately picked up Shen Qinghan beside him and started sprinting towards the park's exit. He didn't know what exactly was happening, but getting away from the situation as quickly as possible was definitely the right choice. Shen Qinghan was still a bit bewildered, but she had been carried by Linziken like this often enough as a child, so she obediently wrapped her arms around his neck and pressed her face against his body to make it easier for him to carry her. Shoot, shoot now! No sooner had Linziken started running than the captain of the public security team, frantic, yelled at several security officers. Then, a series of deafening gunshots rang out, piercing the quiet night. Bang! 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 By that time, Linziken had already run outside with Shen Qinghan and they both got on their bikes, pedaling away swiftly to leave the dangerous area behind them. However, whether he pedaled too hard or something else went wrong, the bike chain suddenly broke just less than 20 meters out, not a slipped chain, but a complete break, leaving no hope for repair. Fuck! Linziken rarely cursed. 24 female mechanically modified human. In the park. Several security officers quickly drew their guns and fired a burst at the heretic believer, aiming for the heart and head. In just a moment, they turned the believer, who was mutating into a giant rat, into a colander. However, riddled with bullet holes, the heretic believer merely fell to the ground and continued to transform. After several more sniper shots, even with his head blown apart, the transformation persisted. Jiangbei West Road, Citizens Park, a heretic believer is mutating into a giant rat, and ordinary firearms are not causing fatal damage. Initial assessment suggests a fusion with Rat King genes. We are unable to cope, requesting the deployment of mechanically modified humans for support. Seeing that they couldn't handle the situation, the head of the security team immediately contacted the city security headquarters, requesting support from mechanically modified humans. "Captain, he's getting up," yelled a security officer. The heretic believer, who moments ago lay slumped on the ground, had somehow stood up. More and more rat-like features began to appear on his body, with long whiskers, a pointed mouth, and his face covered in rat fur, becoming an upright walking rat man. Bang! 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 Hold him off! Fire and hold this beast back! Just need to hold off for 2 minutes, and we can await the arrival of support from the mechanically modified human. Stop it, don't let it leave the park! Bang! 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 Under the captain's command, several security officers retreated while firing their guns to suppress and prevent the rat man from leaving the park. Outside the park. Hearing the words of the park's security captain, Linziken left his car behind, picked up Shen Qinghan from the back seat, and started to sprint away. The situation had developed more seriously than he had imagined. He needed to escape the area quickly. You are sprinting at full speed with added weight, Chi blood +4, endurance +2, bodily coordination +2, running speed +2, running technique +2. You've sprinted 1000 meters at full speed with added weight, Chi blood +400, endurance +200, bodily coordination +200, running speed +200, running technique +200. In just over a minute, Linziken had carried Shen Qinghan over 1000 meters, thoroughly leaving the dangerous park behind. Though he had only run 1000 meters, the intensity was incredibly high, leaving him panting heavily with his hands propped on his knees. Seeing this, Shen Qinghan immediately ran into a nearby convenience store, bought a bottle of sports drink, twisted off the cap, and gave it to him to help him catch his breath. Linziken took the drink but didn't drink it right away, still catching his breath. He couldn't drink it with his breath still ragged. Ah, darn it, Xiao Chen, I forgot to take the phantom squid meat from the bike basket. Shen Qinghan suddenly remembered this and her face immediately showed panic. Upon hearing this, Lin Zikin felt a twinge of pain. His first reaction was to go back for it, but reason quickly stopped him from making the foolish move. It was still very dangerous at the park, and acting rashly could lead to an accident. He decided to wait and see. He would ensure his own safety first and then decide whether it was worth it to go back for the phantom squid meat. Just then, there came a loud roar from the sky. It sounded like a high-capacity motorcycle accelerating past, rattling the eardrums and causing discomfort. Lin Zikin looked up following the noise. It was a mechanically modified human. But it was just a fleeting glimpse, disappearing hundreds of meters away in an instant, leaving no chance to catch a clear view of it. Nevertheless, it was likely the support the security captain had just requested. With a mechanically modified human on the scene, safety should be guaranteed. With this thought, Lin Zikin decided to go back and retrieve the phantom squid meat. So, he turned to Shen Qinghan and said, "Wait here for me a moment, I'll go back to the park for the phantom squid meat, I'll be back quickly." "I'll go too. I'll be faster if I go alone." "Alright then, be careful on the way, and come back quickly." MHM. Lin Zikin didn't say anything more and quickly turned to run in the direction of the park. Since he wasn't carrying Shen Qinghan, it took him less than a minute to get back to the outside of the park. At that moment, a massive amount of purple-blue smoke was wafting through the park, and intense combat noises could be heard from inside. Lin Zikin ignored all that, quickly ran to his bicycle, stopped in front of it, and took out the phantom squid meat from the basket. As soon as he had it in his hands, he smelled a faint stench of decay. He sniffed, and the scent was coming from the bag that contained the phantom squid meat. Lin Zikin immediately had a bad feeling about it. With some trepidation, he opened the bag to peek at the phantom squid meat inside. Disappointingly, he found that the meat had spoiled and was showing clear signs of decay. Damn! The meat had a delayed spoilage time after its life essence had been devoured, not that it wouldn't spoil at all. What was he supposed to do now? How could he explain this to his parents when he got back? Lin Zikin was very troubled. At that time, even more intense fighting sounds came from the park. Along with them was a sharp, shrieking sound that was like a mouse, yet also human. The next second, a slender figure burst up from the dense purple-blue smoke, hovering in the sky thanks to the powerful reverse thrust device under their feet. Lin Zikin looked up into the sky and what met his eyes was a female mechanically modified human. Her chest was flat, made of pure alloy, with a round glowing area in the middle, seemingly an energy pump. Just by the alloy alone, she seemed stronger than the male mechanically modified human he had encountered in an alley when he was in elementary school. Suddenly, the energy pump on the female mechanically modified human's chest emitted an extremely dazzling light. The next moment, a terrifying beam of energy shot out from the energy pump, blasting towards the ground below with a roar. Then, a loud boom resounded. The previously dark park was instantly illuminated by more than half. A moment later, the light dissipated. The park, which had been filled with noise, was now silent. What remained was just a whiff of the faint smell of scorched matter. Lin Zikin stood rooted to the spot, stunned by the scene before him. This female mechanically modified human could actually fire laser cannons? Shanghai City was just a small prefecture-level city, and it had such high-level mechanically modified humans? That laser cannon blast looked terrifyingly powerful. It was hard to imagine to what extent a living being's flesh and blood would need to evolve to withstand the damage from that laser cannon blast. Lin Zikin fell into deep thought. Meanwhile, the chest of the female mechanically modified human in the sky was smoking, and the surrounding area was blackened. It was evident how scorching the energy beam that had been released from there had been. After confirming the Rat King below had perished, the female mechanically modified human didn't linger and turned to fly away. Lin Zikin watched her departure, his mind brimming with thoughts. He himself possessed physical qualities far beyond his peers, all thanks to his hard work and daily exercise. And mechanically modified humans didn't have to do anything, just install powerful alloy equipment, and they could have incredible destructive power. This rapid acquisition of power truly made one envious. While Linziken was lost in these various thoughts, the security team captain and others came out from not far away and jogged toward the park to clean up the scene. Seeing this, Linziken hesitated for a moment, then followed them in as well. He wanted to see the extent of the damage caused by the female mechanically modified human's recent laser cannon blast. P.S. Bowls out, begging for monthly and recommendation tickets. 25 Giant Rat Atlas. On the way into the park, Linziken felt the decaying flesh he was carrying was a bit cumbersome, so he opened the bag and threw the meat into a bush by the roadside. The rotting phantom squid meat was emitting an increasingly heavy and pungent odor, the mere smell of which was nauseating, rendering it unnecessary to keep any longer. It could only serve as waste put to use, returning it to the nurturing embrace of nature, offering a feast to the saprophytes of the ecosystem. As for explaining it to his parents when he got home, he'd just say he ran into some heretic believers causing trouble, and in the chaos, he accidentally lost the meat. Moreover, to avoid unnecessary trouble in the future, if he were to buy exotic beast meat to devour again, he'd have to figure out a way to have someone else purchase it on his behalf. Lost in thought, Linziken followed the security team into the interior of the park. At a glance, a purple-blue smoke still lingered in the air, but it had mostly dissipated, revealing large swaths of scorched earth still smoking. Moving closer to inspect, one could see a pit with a radius of about 1 meter at the centermost point. Approaching the pit to peer inside, he saw a completely charred corpse. It was the mechanically modified human that had transformed into the giant mutant rat. Linziken was somewhat surprised. Such a powerful laser cannon, yet it hadn't completely erased this rat man, only blasted it into a charred carcass. It seemed that genetic fusion was still formidable. Unrelated personnel, please keep away. Student, please quickly leave this area. At the edge of the pit, a security officer saw Linziken standing on the side and immediately shouted at him to leave. As soon as these words were spoken, the captain of the security team said, "Let him stay. We'll have to take him back to the station to give a statement anyway." Give a statement? The security officer was a bit puzzled, not understanding why Linziken needed to go back to the station to give a statement. He didn't know that the hostages had managed to escape from the hands of the heretic believer thanks to Linziken's secret intervention. Right then, Linziken's phone rang. It was a call from Shen Qinghan. As soon as he answered, Shen Qinghan's voice, full of worry, came through immediately. "Xiao Chen, it's been over 10 minutes, and you haven't come back yet. Did something happen on the way?" "It's nothing, don't worry. That rat man has been dealt with by the mechanically modified human. I stayed behind to check out the scene. You wait in the convenience store, I'll be back soon." "Should I come to find you?" "No, it doesn't feel too safe. I'm coming to get you now, wait for me, I'll be there in a moment." Linziken quickly hung up the phone and ran to pick up Shen Qinghan. In just a short while, he brought Shen Qinghan over to the park. Shen Qinghan looked at the scorched ground in front of her, her face full of surprise. It was hard for her to imagine what had just happened here to cause everything to turn out like this. At that moment, the people from the security team had already removed the body from the pit and were carrying it on a stretcher to be placed in the trunk of the security vehicle. Luckily, the trunk of the security vehicle was usually large enough to hold various types of sizable equipment, otherwise, the stretcher wouldn't have fit. Linziken, observing the completely charred corpse, recalled that the security team captain had mentioned something about the Rat King gene when he had called for backup earlier. He speculated that the charred heretic believer most likely had the Rat King gene fused into him. And the Rat King gene was certainly a type of exotic beast gene. So could I devour the Rat King gene from the corpse? Linziken suddenly thought of this. After considering it, he felt it should be possible and decided to take the opportunity to touch the corpse when getting off at the security station to confirm his suspicion. Soon, everything at the scene was dealt with. The captain of the security team looked towards Linziken and asked, "We're going back to the security station. Do you two know where it is? Can you ride your bicycles over? Our bicycle chain broke, we can't ride it. In that case, come back with us in the security vehicle. Can you take our bicycles as well?" "Sure, go fetch them." "Thank you." After a brief exchange, Linziken went out to push their broken bicycle over. Since the trunk was full, a tall security officer used a rope to secure their bicycle to the top of the vehicle. Afterward, they all headed to the security station by car. In the car, Linziken didn't see Teacher Strawberry, figuring she must have already been taken by the security to the hospital to treat her wounds. On the way, since Linziken and Shen Qinghan were both minors, the captain of the security team had the two notify their parents to come to the security station. Both of them called to inform their parents. About 10 minutes passed. The car finally arrived at the police station. After getting out, Linziken took the initiative to help lift the heretic believer's body from the back of the car. When the officers weren't looking, he stifled his revulsion and touched the body, to see if he could absorb the Rat King gene from within. To his surprise, he found that he actually could. Genes are the essence of life, or at least one kind of it. Without a second thought, he decisively chose to absorb it. "You have absorbed a strand of the giant exotic rat's life essence. Giant exotic rat compendium, 5%. 5%? That much?" Looking at the progress bar behind the compendium, Linziken felt mildly surprised. However, more than the progress bar, he was interested in what abilities he might gain after opening the giant exotic rat's compendium. On careful consideration, aside from having 8 eyes and somewhat tough skin, giant exotic rats didn't seem to have any particularly special abilities. Of course, it could be that humans lacked sufficient understanding of the giant exotic rats. After all, giant exotic rats had only appeared in human society recently and still carried much unknown potential. "Forget it, there's no use thinking too much about it, I'll know everything when the compendium's progress bar is full." With that thought, Linziken specifically glanced at the body on the stretcher. Seeing no change, it seemed that losing the Rat King gene didn't have any effect. Of course, it could also be like the phantom squid meat from earlier, where there's a certain delay. In the following time, Linziken and Shen Qinghan sat together to give their statements. The captain of the security team was very interested in Linziken's heroic action and wanted to know how he managed to injure the heretic believer with a stone. After all, the distance was somewhat long, and the visibility wasn't great at night. Under such conditions, to accurately hit the heretic believer's knife-holding hand with a stone was not something a middle school student should be capable of. Linziken didn't want to reveal too much of his abilities, so he gave the excuse he had already prepared, saying he used a slingshot. "Where is that slingshot?" the captain of the security team asked suspiciously. Without even blinking, Linziken calmly replied, "I accidentally lost it while fleeing the scene." "Are you sure?" "I'm very sure," Linziken replied without a moment's hesitation. The captain of the security team nodded and didn't ask further. Soon, the statement was completed. At that time, the parents of Linziken and Shen Qinghan had arrived at the police station. Both sets of parents looked anxious. None of them had expected their children to encounter trouble with heretic believers just by going out at night. Fortunately, the outcome was fortunate, and both kids were unharmed. Otherwise, none of the parents would have been able to bear it. After a brief chat with his parents, Linziken turned to the captain of the security team and asked, "Excuse me, when can I apply for my reward for the act of courage?" "Right now, if you go for a fingerprint comparison, and once the results come back confirming everything is correct, I can apply for your reward in the system," the captain of the security team answered. Having understood the process, Lin Zikin followed a young officer to do the fingerprint comparison. Seeing this scene, both families' parents were somewhat bemused. A reward for an act of courage? What is that? Both parents were aware that their children had encountered some heretic believer-related unrest but were unaware that Lin Zikin had acted heroically to save someone. It wasn't until they asked the captain of the security team and looked at the statement that they understood what had happened. Your son is truly remarkable, having the courage and composure to face a crisis head-on in middle school, he's a little hero. A passing female officer praised. After hearing this, Zhang Wangzhen merely smiled politely at her, feeling no joy in her heart. She didn't want Lin Zikin to be a hero. She just wanted him to grow up safe and sound. P.S. Bowls out, begging for monthly tickets and recommendation votes. 26 Bizarre Giant Rat. After completing the fingerprint comparison and applying for the reward, the parents of both families noticed it was getting late, so they didn't linger at the police station and wanted to take the two kids home. While passing by the office door, Lin Zikin, with his exceptional hearing, keenly picked up some of the conversations inside. They were talking about the heretic believers and the giant mutant rats. The rat god cult has become increasingly active lately, seducing those who are dissatisfied with society and filled with resentment to join them. I've heard that members of the rat god cult have even infiltrated certain universities to lure those cultural students who can't undergo genetic fusion through official channels. The heretic believer shot dead tonight was once a cultural student at Guangzhou University. Because his body did not meet the standards for genetic fusion but he longed to become a genetic integrator, he was then beguiled by the members of the rat god cult. What a bunch of rat droppings, those culprits will all be rounded up sooner or later. Rounding up the culprits is useless, it treats the symptoms not the root cause. We need to take down that self-proclaimed rat king. The rat god cult? Lin Zikin was hearing this term for the first time and immediately took out his phone to look it up. He then learned that it was a heretical sect that worshipped a giant mutant rat as a god. Their headquarters were in Shanghai City, and most of its members were social outcasts. Their activities had been ramping up over the past few years. It was suspected that the Rat King wished to evolve into an advanced level creature and needed its followers to collect a vast amount of evolutionary resources for it. All this was officially disclosed information. Worship a rat as a god. Lin Zikin shook his head, didn't search any further, and tucked his phone back into his pocket. He walked out of the police station and went to where their car was parked. Shen Qinghan, as usual, got into Lin Yunzhen's car, wanting to sit in the back seat with Lin Zikin. Shen Jianyi watched this scene unfold and couldn't help but smile bitterly. Sigh, our daughter seems almost like she belongs to the Lin family. Su Meng said with a calm expression, it's actually a blessing for Han Han to be close with the Lin family. Why are you sighing over it? That's true. Shen Jianyi smiled and quickly got into the car with Su Meng. In the other car, Lin Zikin and Shen Qinghan were chatting off and on. Most of the conversation consisted of Shen Qinghan talking while Lin Zikin responded. Ziai Chen, I wonder how Strawberry Teacher is doing now. When I saw her, her neck was bleeding. She should be okay, right? It didn't look too serious. A simple bandage should be enough. She'll be fine. Ziai Chen, the face of the heretic believer that mutated earlier suddenly grew 8 eyes. It was really scary. Mutation is like that. Lin Zikin replied casually. While chatting, Shen Qinghan, who had been talking non-stop, suddenly fell silent. She didn't fiddle with her phone either, just sat there tightly pressing her straight legs together, seamless, with an off-looking expression on her face. Lin Zikin noticed her odd behavior and subconsciously glanced at her lower half. Realizing it was bulging like when she was little. But he knew it was probably not a diaper anymore, but another type of water-absorbing pad. Having realized this, he silently turned his head to one side, looking out the car window to avoid making Shen Qinghan uncomfortable. Shen Qinghan realized that Lin Zikin had noticed and kept her head down with her lips tightly pursed, not saying a word. Just like that, the car's atmosphere suddenly grew quiet. Suddenly, Lin Zikin's eyes widened. He saw a fat rat, as big as a cat, zip past from the side of the road and quickly climb into the second floor of the police station through the drain. How could there be such a huge rat? Could it be a giant mutant rat? Lin Zikin's nerves instantly tensed up. But soon, he relaxed, feeling that he was just overthinking it. This was the south, not the north, where it's quite normal for rats to grow as big as cats. There was nothing strange about it. It seems I've been too tense lately, I really need to relax when I get home. Lin Zikin thought to himself. After the car arrived home, Shen Qinghan dropped a "see you tomorrow" and awkwardly got out of the car and left. Zhang Wangzhen was somewhat puzzled. What's with Han Han today? She usually loves to stick around and chat with you for a while longer, doesn't she? Why was she so quiet in the car just now, and the moment we stopped, she got out and left? She looked really tired just now, probably sleepy and not in the mood to talk, Lin Zikin explained. Zhang Wangzhen nodded and didn't dwell on it. Soon, the family of three got out of the car and entered the house. As soon as they entered, Zhang Wangzhen solemnly advised Lin Zikin, "Xiao Chen, if you ever encounter something like tonight again, your mom wants you to prioritize your safety. You must know your limits and not act recklessly." "Mom, I understand, I will," Lin Zikin obediently nodded. Zhang Wangzhen's worry eased slightly when she saw him willing to listen. Afterward, something occurred to her, and she asked. "Right, didn't you buy 3 pounds of phantom squid meat? Where is the meat? I didn't see it in the bike's basket, and you are not carrying it either." "Mom, don't be mad when I tell you this, when we ran into the heretic believer's mutation earlier, Han Han and I rushed out so quickly that I accidentally lost the meat." Lin Zikin hesitated before speaking. Upon hearing this, Zhang Wangzhen's eyes widened. She felt terrible about the loss but restrained herself from showing it in front of Lin Zikin. Instead, she consoled him. "It's okay, if it's lost then it's lost. After all, we encountered a heretic believer causing trouble. It's a lucky misfortune that no one was hurt, and not to mention you bravely saved someone else. You are Mom's pride. While it hasn't been lost for long, why don't I drive there and look along the way?" Lin Yanzheng suggested. Zhang Wangzhen immediately objected, "No, it's too dangerous there, especially after the heretic believer incident just happened." "That's true," Lin Yanzheng nodded. Lin Zikin didn't speak, silently thinking to himself that he would have to enter more competitions in the future. Once he had saved enough prize money, he would buy 3 pounds of phantom squid meat to honor his parents. At the public security office, in the captain's office, the security team captain, looking at the statement in his hand, couldn't help but laugh. "Shot with a slingshot? Who uses a slingshot with stones as big as chicken eggs? And can they even shoot them out? It's undoubtedly thrown by hand. Does he not realize what I do for a living, thinking he can fool me, a student?" The security team captain lit a cigarette, took a deep drag and exhaled, his thoughts lingering amidst the spreading smoke. That said, how on earth did a middle school student manage to throw stones with such force? "No, I must check the surveillance footage tomorrow morning to see what happened." Thinking this, he put the statement back into its dedicated filing box, locked it, and prepared to leave work for home. Just then, he noticed a large mouse on the windowsill, as big as a cat. He was a bit surprised. Where did this mouse come from, and why is it so big? The mouse outside the window didn't run away at the sound of his voice and just sat quietly on the windowsill, its eyes staring deeply at the security team captain. Chapter 27. Join the martial arts team. Shanghai High School. In a certain first-year classroom, Lin Zikin was in class but his mind wasn't on the lecture. He hadn't even opened his book, as he was preoccupied with the events of yesterday. Thinking about the rat god cult, he realized it was a safety hazard and decided to be more cautious in the future. Thinking about the female mechanically modified human's laser cannon, he acknowledged his own weakness but took solace in his youth. With the attributes of survival of the fittest, heavenly roots, and stronger with age to bolster him, his potential for growth was greater than anyone else's. Thinking of the Phantom Squid Meat catalog, he pondered how to make money to fill up the progress bar, and then unlock the catalog to acquire some of the Phantom Squid's abilities. School scholarships? Prize money from various student competitions? What else? Were there any other sources of income? The price of Phantom Squid meat was too high. With such meager annual earnings, how many years would it take to fill up the progress bar? He had to find a way to increase his income. Become a famous scholastic online personality? No, that was too flashy. What about a technical side hustle? That didn't seem feasible either, as his schedule was already packed with studying and training, leaving no spare time. Was there a side hustle that could make money without interfering with his studies and training? Forget it, he thought, 3 cobblers with their wits combined equals Ujliang the mastermind. Better to consult with his well-informed online friends. With that thought, Lin Zikin took out his phone and posted a message on a forum. Seeking advice, how can a middle school student quickly earn 100,000 yuan without impacting their studies? Perhaps due to the outrageous nature of the title, his post quickly garnered a flurry of enthusiastic responses. First comment, you can have anything in your dreams. Second comment, I suggest you study criminal law. Third comment, you can join the school martial arts team and compete in matches. I have a friend who earned nearly 300,000 yuan in prizes over the course of middle and high school. I'm so jealous. 300,000 yuan in prize money? That much? Lin Zikin was a bit surprised and quickly exited the forum to look up information about martial arts competitions on his browser. He focused on local competitions in Shanghai City. After a brief search, he learned that during school vacations, the city hosted various sizes of martial arts exchanges, targeting middle and high school students. He checked specific competition details and found the forum user was not boasting. The prizes were indeed quite substantial. There was a 9-school junior high competition in the city with a first-place prize of 50,000 yuan for the winning school. It meant a division of money here and there, but core team members could still pocket at least several thousand yuan. For a middle schooler, that was a lot of money. Moreover, the competition was not long-lasting, ranging from 3 days to a week at most. Earning several thousand yuan in just a few days was akin to hauling money in a burlap sack. Most importantly, practicing martial arts would strengthen his body and allow him to make money and evolve simultaneously. The school happens to have a martial arts team, I'll go check it out after school, Lin Zikin thought to himself. Before long, the end of class bell rang, and the morning classes finally came to an end. Once the class was over, the students quickly left the classroom to head to the cafeteria for lunch. Some who lived close by went home to eat. Others enrolled in nearby daycare classes went there for their meal. Lin Zikin and Shen Qinghan were an exception. Both brought their meals from home and simply needed to heat them up in the microwave in the teacher's office. That was one of the privileges Lin Zikin had earned in exchange for winning numerous honors for the school. Shen Qinghan, as his closest childhood friend, was fortunately able to share this privilege with him. Ziai Chen, try this, it's super delicious. Shen Qinghan placed a piece of rolled omelette into Lin Zikin's lunchbox, looking perfectly natural, clearly not dwelling on the embarrassing incident in the car yesterday. Lin Zikin tried the omelette and nodded, it is really good. Can you guess who made it? Do you want me to guess? Stop playing word games, just take a guess. You made it. Correct. Shen Qinghan's smile blossomed like a flower. She then propped her face with one hand and looked at Lin Zikin with shining eyes, saying, Ziai Chen, I've started learning to cook with my mom. How about I cook for you every day from now on? Sure, Lin Zikin said with a smile. Soon, they finished their meals. Translation. When he went out to wash his lunchbox, Lin Zikin encountered the coach of the martial arts team in the corridor outside the classroom. Ziyi Chen, what a coincidence! Upon seeing Lin Zikin, Guo Xiangyuan immediately walked over with a smile on his face to strike up a conversation. He had deliberately waited in the corridor for a long time and finally saw Lin Zikin come out after finishing his meal. The reason he had gone to such lengths to stage a chance meeting was to avoid seeming too abrupt like he did yesterday, which might give Lin Zikin a poor impression. For a sports talent like Lin Zikin, he believed he needed to take the initiative, recruiting Lin Zikin into the martial arts team as soon as possible, not wasting even a single day of martial arts training. Every wasted day was a travesty that deserved to be struck by lightning. Coach Guo, I was actually looking for you. Originally, Lin Zikin planned to visit the gym after school to learn more about the martial arts team, but since he had bumped into Guo Xiangyuan now, he might as well take this opportunity to understand the matters regarding the team. Upon hearing this, Guo Xiangyuan first looked a little astounded, then said excitedly, "Are you interested in learning about the martial arts team?" "Yes." Lin Zikin nodded. Hearing this, Guo Xiangyuan immediately walked up with an enthusiastic face and said cheerfully, "Feel free to ask any questions, and I will answer all of them to the best of my knowledge." So, in the following period, Lin Zikin asked a series of questions. About martial arts competitions in the city. About how the competition prizes were. About the strength of the martial arts teams from various schools, and so on. Guo Xiangyuan patiently answered all these questions for him. Shen Qinghan, who was nearby, saw that the two seemed likely to talk for a while, quietly took Lin Zikin's lunchbox away to wash, and didn't interrupt them. About half an hour later, the two in the corridor finished their conversation. Lin Zikin verbally agreed to join the martial arts team, saying that he would visit room C of the gym after school. Afterward, he turned and went back into the classroom. It was now the lunch break, and the classroom was mostly empty. At a glance, there were only about a dozen students who weren't napping and were studying hard instead. The diligent and studious Shen Qinghan was one of them. Lin Zikin sat down at his own desk, put on his earphones, and started searching on his phone for a bunch of videos about martial arts competitions to understand the process. Next to him, Shen Qinghan was hunched over a set of papers, her brows occasionally furrowing and then relaxing. About half an hour later, Shen Qinghan finally finished the set of papers. She neatly packed away the papers with a sense of accomplishment and turned to pat Lin Zikin on the shoulder, wanting to chat with him. Lin Zikin took off his earphones and looked at her, asking, "Finished with the papers?" "All done." "Not bad, you finished in less than an hour this time, showing progress." "Of course, although I'm not as smart as you, Xiao Chen, I'm still quite smart." Shen Qinghan was a bit smug. Then, she curiously asked Lin Zikin, "By the way, Xiao Chen, are you going to join the school's martial arts team?" "I've verbally joined already." "So, does that mean I can watch you compete in the future?" "You should be able to." Upon hearing this, Shen Qinghan's face lit up with a smile, her beautiful eyes curving as she said, "Then I'll be your little fan, cheering and shouting for you in the stands every day, all right?" "Sure." Lin Zikin smiled and said. No sooner had he finished speaking than Shen Qinghan yawned hugely, looking sleepy. Seeing this, Lin Zikin brought over a chair from the lectern, combining it with the chair Shen Qinghan was sitting on, and then he said to her, "There's still more than half an hour left of the lunch break, take a nap if you're sleepy." I'll take a nap, then. Remember to wake me up when it's almost time." After speaking, Shen Qinghan curled up like a little kitten on the two chairs joined together, resting her head on Lin Zikin's leg and quickly falling asleep. Lin Zikin fetched a small blanket to cover her. Then he put on his earphones and continued to watch martial arts competition videos on his phone. Not sure if it was dreaming or something else, barely awake for long, Shen Qinghan's cherry lips moved slightly. And she muttered softly, "Xiao Chen." I've worked hard and got admitted to Shanghai High School's senior high. We're still desk mates. P.S. Holding out a begging bowl, ask for monthly and recommendation tickets. Chapter 28. Martial Arts Prodigy. Gymnasium, Room C. Right after school in the afternoon, Lin Zikan took Shen Qinghan here. When they first entered, Guo Xiangyuan was the only one inside, leisurely sipping tea and scrolling through short videos. Coach Guo. Lin Zikan called out, his reference changing from the previous teacher to the now coach. Guo Xiangyuan, hearing the voice, immediately looked up with a smile, "You're here early. None of those kids on the team arrive earlier than you. They need to improve their attitude. Come in, sit down and have some tea first. Once everyone arrives, I'll take you for a tour," Guo Xiangyuan said as he fetched 2 cups and poured tea for both of them. As time passed, people began to trickle into the room from outside. All of them were boys, not a single girl was present. Upon entering, each of them curiously glanced at Lin Zikan and Shen Qinghan sitting beside the tea table, with most of their gazes landing on Lin Zikan. Lin Zikan had a big reputation in Shanghai High School, there wasn't a student who didn't know him, most had heard of his various extraordinary tales as a study prodigy. However, none had expected this academically exceptional prodigy to possess equally outstanding athletic talent. "Is it you?" Right then, a boy hurried into the room and upon seeing Lin Zikan sitting in front of the table, his reaction seemed a bit exaggerated. It was none other than the boy who had been previously defeated by Lin Zikan at the school sports meet, forced to tearfully take silver instead of gold. Lin Zikan, hearing him, turned towards the boy and politely smiled, saying, "Hello. My name is Zhang Kai, remember my name," the boy replied indifferently. After saying so, he walked off to one side with his backpack, paying no further attention to Lin Zikan. Lin Zikan just smiled and said nothing, thinking that this Zhang Kai was quite arrogant. He could only think that it was normal for middle school boys in the throes of adolescence to act this way and found it understandable. Seeing all team members had arrived, Guo Xiangyuan stood up and, looking around with a smile, said, "This handsome boy here is Lin Zikan. I believe everyone is familiar with him, so I won't waste time introducing him. From today onwards, Ziyi Chen will be part of our martial arts team. Let's welcome him with a round of applause." Clap clap clap. Guo Xiangyuan began clapping first as soon as he finished speaking. Seeing this, the team members also followed suit and clapped along, very much in sync with their coach. Except for one person, the boy named Zhang Kai. After the applause subsided, Guo Xiangyuan addressed the team members again, "Right, everyone, introduce yourselves one by one so Ziyi Chen can get to know you. My name is Huang Tianxing, from class 9 to 3. You can just call me Ah Xing. I am Li Shutong, from class 9 to 6. You can call me Little Li, that's what everyone calls me, and I really like the nickname. My name is Han Yaizhuo, just call me Brother Suo." The team members seemed quite easygoing, introducing themselves one after another with smiles on their faces. Lin Zikan responded with a smile too, cordially replying with a "please guide me" after each introduction. The martial arts team didn't have many members. Aside from Lin Zikan and Guo Xiangyuan, there were only 7 others, so the introductions were concluded quickly. During this time, Shen Qinghan stood silently beside Lin Zikan, holding both of their lunch boxes, and remained quiet throughout. She only became talkative and lively in front of Lin Zikan. In the presence of strangers, especially unfamiliar boys, she seemed quite introverted, almost socially anxious. "By the way, this classmate, what's your name?" Guo Xiangyuan, always seeing Shen Qinghan accompanying Lin Zikan, knew they were inseparable and thought he should get to know her better. I'm Shen Qinghan, you can call me Xiao Shen or Qinghan," Shen Qinghan introduced herself somewhat nervously. Guo Xiangyuan smiled and said, "Then I'll call you Xiao Shen from now on." With that, he told the veteran team members to practice on their own. Then, he took Lin Zikin around the room for a quick tour to get familiar with the martial training equipment. But it was all very ordinary equipment like punching bags, weighted sandbags, and wooden dummies, nothing special to look at. Ziyi Chen, there are 5 team members in 9th grade and 2 in 8th grade, and you're the only one in 7th. I have high hopes for you. Follow me closely, and within a year, I guarantee you'll become the ace of the team. After making a round, Guo Xiangyuan suddenly told Lin Zikin this, sounding a bit like he was giving false promises, but in reality, he was not. Lin Zikin, thank you, coach, for valuing me. Guo Xiangyuan, by the way, Ziyi Chen, have you ever practiced martial arts before? Lin Zikin, no. Guo Xiangyuan nodded after listening and then said to Lin Zikin, well, today I'll teach you a set of the most basic boxing and kicking techniques, so you can get a feel for what martial arts training is like. Lin Zikin responded, okay. Soon after, Guo Xiangyuan walked to an open space ahead, stopped, and started demonstrating the basic boxing and kicking techniques at a leisurely pace for Lin Zikin. Lin Zikin watched very closely, etching every movement enacted by Guo Xiangyuan into his mind. About 10 minutes later, the demonstration ended. Guo Xiangyuan, like a martial arts grandmaster, slowly withdrew from his stance and then smiled at Lin Zikin, saying, you might think these moves are simple, but they actually are quite difficult. Even little Li, who is the fastest in the team to master it, spent a week's time initially. However, no matter how much I say, it's hard to really understand without trying it out. Come on, give it a try. Guo Xiangyuan said and stepped aside to let Lin Zikin have a go. Lin Zikin walked over, stopped, and based on the memory of just observing from the sidelines, he quickly replicated the set of boxing and kicking techniques demonstrated by Guo Xiangyuan and replicated them perfectly, 1-to-1. His talented nature allowed him to master all the movements after watching just once. Use reinforced the learning, making each replication of the movements more explosive than the last. As his movements got faster and faster, familiar textual information soon appeared in the void. You are practicing boxing, Qi blood +1, muscular strength in hands +1, agility in hands +1, boxing proficiency +1. You are practicing kicking, Qi blood +1. Muscular strength in legs +1, agility in legs +1, kicking proficiency +1. At the side, Guo Xiangyuan was completely stunned. This is his first time practicing martial arts? Really? Are you sure he's not lying? The other team members, who were practicing on their own and glancing over from time to time, all had incredulous expressions when they saw Lin Zikin instantly grasp the basic boxing and kicking techniques. Ziyi Chen, is this really your first time practicing martial arts? Guo Xiangyuan asked somewhat skeptically after a moment of collecting himself. Realizing that he might have been showing off too much supernatural prowess, Lin Zikin made up a quick excuse, it's not really my first time. I took some interest classes in martial arts during elementary school, practicing boxing and kicking for a while. No wonder, Guo Xiangyuan said with relief, touching his forehead with a smile. I wondered how you could perfect it on the first try, you gave me quite a scare. Guo Xiangyuan laughed at himself for overthinking it. How could someone, who had never practiced martial arts, just watch once and get it? If humans had such strong learning abilities, would they be in the current predicament, constantly living under the threat from exotic beasts from outside the human realm? By now there would likely be countless geniuses born, beating those exotic beasts from outside the human realm into submission. Time flew by, and before he knew it, it was already 6:30 p.m. The martial arts team generally practiced until 7:30 p.m. However, Lin Zikin didn't want to train that late and applied to go home an hour early. Guo Xiangyuan didn't mind these things as he was quite laid back in leading the team, with most of the time relying on the team members' self-discipline. As for training until 7:30 p.m., it only meant that he, as a coach, would stay in the gym until that time. Ziyi Chen, remember to bring a clean set of clothes to put in your backpack tomorrow. Otherwise, after practicing and sweating, you might catch a cold on your way home, Guo Xiang Yuan reminded Lin Zikin as he was about to leave. Lin Zikin nodded, saying, I know, thanks for the reminder, coach. After saying that, he left the gym with Shen Qinghan. When they arrived at the bicycle shed, seeing Lin Zikin still sweating, Shen Qinghan took out a tissue and said, Xiao Chen, you're still wet from sweat, let me wipe it off for you. Saying so, she carefully used the tissue to wipe the sweat off Lin Zikin's face and neck. As for the sweat under his clothes, that was beyond her help. Lin Zikin felt it was wiped enough, so he let her sit in the rear seat of the bicycle, and under the pleasant evening sun, he rode home leisurely with her on board. P.S. Begging bowl out, seeking monthly and recommendation tickets. Chapter 29 Shudder Without Being Cold. Xiao Chen, I heard from your mother that you joined the school's martial arts team, how does it feel? Lin Zikin had just returned home when he was asked this by Lin Yanzheng in the living room. He had called Zhang Wangzhen after school to say he had joined the school's martial arts team and would be coming home late, so both of his parents were aware of this. It's quite good, I can sweat it out after school and work out a bit. Lin Zikin replied while taking off his shoes. Lin Yanzheng asked another question, Xiao Chen, whether it's academic talent or athletic talent, you excel in both. Have you decided which path to pursue in the future? I think my athletic talent is more remarkable than my academic talent, and the path of martial arts seems more promising too. Once I reach high school, I'll join the martial arts class and learn martial arts, Lin Zikin answered without hesitation. There are no martial arts classes in the educational stages of this world. Because practicing martial arts too early can affect the body's development. Only when students reach high school and their bodies are almost fully developed do schools start offering martial arts classes. Before that, students mainly focus on academic studies. But courses related to genetic integrators, mechanically modified humans, and exotic beasts are also offered to allow students to develop comprehensively. What a coincidence, your mother and I also want you to learn martial arts, it seems our family of three is in perfect agreement, Lin Yanzheng said with a satisfied smile on his face. In this world where humanity is constantly threatened by exotic beasts, all traits are inferior, only martial arts stand superior. Because only by training in martial arts to a certain physical strength can one bear the backlash of genetic fusion and mechanical modification, becoming a superior genetic integrator or mechanically modified human. By the way, where's Mom? Your mom and your Aunt Sue went out to buy groceries. They said it's Friday, so everyone will get together tonight. No wonder I didn't see her around the house. Lin Zikin nodded and didn't chat further, quickly going upstairs to take a shower. He had worked up a sweat during martial arts practice and now felt sticky and uncomfortable. In the bathroom, Lin Zikin finished his shower, dried off his body, and stood naked in front of the mirror, carefully examining himself. Despite the intense workouts he did regularly, his muscles didn't look bulky at all. They weren't exaggerated like a bodybuilder's but were lean and toned. He appeared slim when clothed but muscular once undressed. Not bad, a perfect physique. Looking at his reflection, Lin Zikin felt very satisfied. Then, on a whim, he started practicing punches and kicks in front of the mirror. You're practicing punching, Qi blood +1, strength of hand muscles +1, hand flexibility +1, proficiency of punching +1. You're practicing kicking, Qi blood +1, strength of leg muscles +1, leg flexibility +1, proficiency of kicking +1. He hadn't been practicing for long when laughter and conversation drifted up from downstairs. It was the voices of Zhang Wangzhen and Su Meng, who had returned from grocery shopping. At the same time, he heard Shen Jianyi and Shen Qinghan's voices. The two families were getting together for dinner that evening, and all three members of the other family had arrived. Seeing that everyone was there, Lin Zikin grabbed his clothes, got dressed, opened the door, and went downstairs. When he reached downstairs, he saw the two mothers cooking in the kitchen, the two fathers chatting leisurely at the tea table, and Shen Qinghan sitting on the sofa doing her papers, studying hard. Hearing the sound of Lin Zikan coming downstairs, Shen Qinghan looked up at him and complained. "Xiao Chen, you took such a long time to shower, I've been here for half an hour." "It was all right." Lin Zikan replied and sat down beside her, casually starting to check his phone. He was looking at the current news, keeping an eye on the situation everywhere. Not long after, Shen Qinghan leaned over with a mysteriously excited expression and said, "Xiao Chen, guess what sort of groceries your mom and Aunt Xin bought?" "You'll never guess it." "King crabs." "No." "Lobster." "Wrong again." "Then I have no idea." "I knew you wouldn't be able to guess." Shen Qinghan said with a victorious smile before revealing, "It's phantom squid meat, 3 pounds of it." "Phantom squid meat?" Lin Zikan thought he must have heard wrongly, visibly surprised. From the front, Lin Yanzheng said, "Your mom knew you and Qinghan wanted to have this, so she specially asked your Aunt Su to buy it at the market." Hearing this, Lin Zikan suddenly felt an indescribable sensation in his heart. He looked toward Zhang Wangzhen, who was busy in the kitchen, and quickly stood up, walking over to say, "Mom, let me help you." Shen Qinghan also went into the kitchen to help upon seeing this. It was now 8:30 p.m. Dinner was finally ready. Although the meal was served much later than usual, causing everyone to be ravenously hungry, the sight of the 8 dishes and 1 soup on the table made them feel the wait was worthwhile. "Xiao Chen, this phantom squid meat is so fragrant, and the texture is chewy, really delicious." Shen Qinghan, her face beaming with happiness, took the initiative to pick up a piece of phantom squid meat and place it in Lin Zikan's bowl. Lin Zikan tasted a bite, and it was indeed delicious. "You have absorbed a trace of the phantom squid's life essence." Phantom Squid Album, 3.01%. Hey? The progress bar for the album actually increased? Lin Zikan was first startled, a bit surprised, but then he thought it made sense. If touching it with his hands allowed him to absorb, then eating it would undoubtedly result in absorption as well. While he was pondering these things, the television screen in front of them was broadcasting a piece of news. Genius girl shocks the nation. At just 14 years old, she successfully merged with the Heart of Energy, becoming the youngest mechanically modified human in the country's history. When the energy is activated, she can easily lift a 2,000 kg off-road vehicle with one hand, sprint 100 meters in just 3 seconds, and perform a vertical jump from a standstill to a height of 8 meters. The prodigy of capital city from yesteryear and today's genius girl, which of the two peerless geniuses will become the king of this era? Will genetic fusion be unrivaled, or will mechanical ascension prove undefeatable? Let's look forward to the ultimate showdown between these two geniuses in the future. Everyone at the dining table watched this news report. Among them, Zhang Wangzhen said somewhat incredulously, "Another genius girl has popped up? She's only 14, her body has not even fully developed, and she's already undergone mechanical modification. I really don't know what her parents were thinking." Lin Yanzheng sipped his soup and said, "They probably saw how successfully the prodigy from capital city marketed himself, making a fortune, and they wanted to jump on the bandwagon to make a quick buck as well." Listening to this, Lin Zikan also felt that this so-called peerless prodigy was all about marketing to make money. Earning money? Well, there's no shame in that, it's understandable. Shen Qinghan, looking at the news on the television screen, thought that the term peerless twin heroes sounded really nice, so she looked at Lin Zikan with full enthusiasm and said, "Xiao Chen, I'm going to work hard to improve myself and strive to become peerless twin heroes with you one day." "Yeah, keep it up," Lin Zikan made an encouraging gesture to her. Watching the interaction between the two children, Shen Jianyi and Su Meng across the table felt a hint of bitterness, growing increasingly worried about Shen Qinghan's future. Strive to become peerless twin heroes? But the reality was, the gap between the two children would only grow wider and wider. Forget it, Han Han is still young. Let her enjoy her happy days as long as they last, and cherish the friendship as long as it continues. Let her live in the present. What's to come can be dealt with later. Shen Jianyi and Su Meng had come to terms with it, feeling that letting nature take its course was the best approach. They were no longer plagued by needless worries. After all, worrying would only bring bad moods and couldn't change a thing. Soon, the television screen switched to another news story. In XX district of Shanghai City, the captain of the local security force tragically perished last night at 11 p.m. in his office. Surveillance footage shows he died from a giant exotic rat that had infiltrated the premises. The captain, named He Chun Chan, had held his position for 3 years, making outstanding contributions to the security of XX district during his tenure, with a record of arresting 19 followers of the rat god cult, helping mechanically modified humans kill 3 giant exotic rats. After reporting on the security force captain's contributions, the TV screen immediately played an interview clip. The interviewees were security officers from the office, all looking furious and shouting that from now on they would fight the rat god cult to the death. After watching this news report, everyone in the room widened their eyes in disbelief. The security force captain was dead? Last night at 11 p.m. wasn't that shortly after they had left the security office? Thinking of this, everyone felt a chill of fear. Especially Lin Zikan, who remembered the rat he had seen the night before and shuddered. Chapter 30. Survival of the Fittest. Deep into the night, Lin Zikan lay on his bed, unable to fall asleep. His mind was preoccupied with the death of the security captain. The report had stated that the captain was killed by a giant mutant rat. Could the large rat he saw from the car be the same giant mutant rat that killed the security captain? But that so-called big rat looked only about the size of a cat. How could it possibly be the giant mutant rat that measured 3 meters in length? He couldn't figure it out no matter how much he thought about it. Gazing out the window. The night was deep. All the streetlights along the road had been extinguished, and not a single shadow could be seen. Speaking of which, I haven't tested my biometric data in a long time, and since I can't sleep anyway, I might as well go outside and test it. Thinking this, Lin Zikan donned a hat and a mask and quietly left his home. He chose paths without surveillance cameras, and after some time, he arrived at an abandoned highway. First, he warmed up a bit, then quickly took out his phone, opened the stopwatch app, and started timing his 100-meter sprint. Then, in just a brief moment, he sprinted the 100-meter distance he had measured in advance. The stopwatch on his phone displayed 4.61 seconds. Last time it was 6 seconds, this time 4.61 seconds, an improvement of nearly 1.4 seconds. Not bad. After testing his speed, he started to measure his jumping ability. He found a few spots with some height, measured them, and then tried to see if he could jump onto them with a vertical leap to roughly gauge his own ability. After about 10 attempts, he came up with a fairly accurate figure. 5.51 meters. Last time it was 4 meters, this time 5.51 meters, an increase of nearly 1.5 meters. After testing speed and jumping, it was time to test strength. Lin Zikan avoided cameras all the way, eyeing the cars parked along the roadside. He had committed to memory all the car models of this world, as well as their corresponding weights. He needed to choose a suitable car to use as a barbell and see if he could easily lift it with one hand. You'll do. After looking at more than a dozen cars, Lin Zikan finally chose one weighing about 1,500 kilograms. He walked around the car, looking for the right point of leverage to lift it, then tried to raise it with one hand. 3 minutes later, he failed. The SUV was too heavy, he couldn't lift it at all and had to choose a lighter one to try. Soon, Lin Zikan picked out a car weighing around 1,200 kilograms. He lifted it halfway, but no, he couldn't hold it. Finally, he found a small women's car weighing about 1,000 kilograms and managed to just barely lift it. Last time it was 700 kilograms, this time 1000 kg, an improvement of 300 kilograms. All three basic stats had seen great progress. One could only say that during the growth spurt, the body grows quickly, and all basic values increase rapidly. Time flew by quickly. In the blink of an eye, next Monday arrived. After school that afternoon, Linziken headed to the gym to practice martial arts. Saying he was practicing martial arts actually meant practicing some simple punches and kicks, nowhere near as powerful as the techniques described in martial arts novels. However, Linziken didn't care about these things. The reason he joined the martial arts team was to compete for prize money. He never thought about actually learning anything from the team. Ziyi Chen, your martial arts talent is too strong. No matter what technique I teach, you are always the quickest to learn it. The future looks bright for you. Guo Xiangyuan said, beaming with praise. He had just taught the 8 team members a dodging technique, utilizing continuous head swings to avoid the opponent's punches. As soon as the demonstration was over, Linziken had instantly mastered it. The other 7 members, however, were still very stiff and awkward. It would take at least a few days of head wobbling to become proficient. All thanks to the coach's excellent teaching. Having said that, Linziken took the clean clothes Shen Qinghan offered him and headed for the front changing room. It was a simple southern-style washdown, not the full northern ritual of body scrubbing. So, less than 5 minutes later, Linziken emerged from the changing room. Xiao Chen, I've taken care of your dirty clothes for you, said Shen Qinghan with a sweet smile, waiting at the entrance of the changing room. Linziken noticed her bangs were a bit messy, tenderly straightened them for her, and said softly, "Let's go home." Shen Qinghan responded softly, walking silently beside Linziken. They arrived at the bike shed. Just as Linziken was pushing his bicycle out, Shen Qinghan took out her phone to show him the photos she had just taken in the gym. "Xiao Chen, look, you look so cool when you're throwing a punch. Your bangs swing with inertia, flipping a few drops of sweat utterly cool. If those little fang girls of yours saw this, they would probably go crazy." Shen Qinghan held the phone up to Linziken's face, swiping through the photos for him to admire. Linziken laughed and said, "The main thing is you captured it well." Days went by like this, one after another. Before he knew it, Linziken had been part of the martial arts team for over a month. At first, Shen Qinghan was the only girl in the gym who would watch him practice martial arts and wait quietly for him to finish so they could go home together. Gradually, word got out about him joining the martial arts team, and many little fang girls knew to come to the gym after school to watch him train. So today, not long after he arrived at the gym to practice, girls began to trickle in to watch him sweat, and after half an hour, the audience had grown to over 30 people. "Wow, Ziyi Chen, that kick you just did was so cool. It must really hurt to be kicked by you, hey?" A high school junior girl said with a dreamy expression after seeing Linziken kick a wooden post. Linziken was somewhat speechless and suddenly lost the interest to practice. He had spoken to Guo Xiangyuan about this issue. He suggested not letting girls enter because it was affecting everyone's training. In the end, he was met with the unanimous opposition of the other 7 team members, rather awkwardly. Practice sessions used to be so dull with just a few guys training earnestly in a big space. But now, with so many female spectators suddenly showing up, they felt as if they had reached heaven, energized by their presence and unwilling for the situation to change. Guo Xiangyuan felt the same way. Seeing that the team members trained more seriously since the female audience arrived and that the martial arts team was getting more attention, he thought it was a good thing and asked Linziken to make a small sacrifice. Linziken thought it over and decided if everyone was okay with it, he was fine too. Time ticked away. Soon, it was almost 6:30 in the evening. Linziken, feeling it was about time, took the clothes Shen Qinghan handed him and headed toward the changing room. Just then, a high school junior girl blocked his path, her face full of infatuation. Zi Chen, I brought you milk, fresh milk. No need, thank you for your kindness, but I'm allergic to milk. Lin Zikin did not want to accept gifts from the opposite sex to avoid misunderstandings, so he made an excuse to politely decline and then walked around her. But hardly had he taken 2 steps when he heard disgruntled shouts from behind him. Zi Chen, how can you reject a girl's sincere gesture? Even if you're allergic to milk, you could still have accepted it, then give it to someone else. Why hurt a girl's feelings? Can't you be a bit more gentlemanly? It was Zhang Kai's voice, the same guy who had performed excellently at the school sports meet. And the girl who had just offered fresh milk to Lin Zikin was the object of his secret affections. Lin Zikin found Zhang Kai's interference pointless, and responded without warmth. My matters are for me to decide. You mind your own business. Zhang Kai, being a brash junior high student, wasn't pleased to be spoken to like that, feeling it was a blow to his pride. He immediately challenged, dare you spar with me? If I lose, I'll never hassle you again. If I win, you take the milk. At his words, everyone perked up with excitement. Guoxiang Yuan was no exception. Lin Zikin had been with the martial arts team for over a month. He always practiced quietly by himself and went home after showering, without a single spar. After some time, the others in the team grew curious about his strength. Facing Zhang Kai's challenge, Lin Zikin grew a bit annoyed too. Wanting to teach this brash kid a lesson to behave more humbly and stop making a fuss, he replied without hesitation, fine, let's have a match. No sooner had he spoken than familiar text messages appeared in the air. Achievement, in a formal competitive setting, eliminate a total of 1,000 different competitors using the most primitive biological methods. Reward, gain the biometric attribute survival of the fittest. Number of competitors eliminated, 0/1000. Looking at the messages floating in the air, Lin Zikin was momentarily stunned, then a ripple of excitement went through him. After such a wait, he had finally received his 4th achievement mission. He wondered what the effect of the biometric attribute survival of the fittest would be. Would it be more powerful than the previous 3? P.S. Bowls out, seeking monthly and recommendation tickets.